What do you find the most difficult when dating women?
My wife.
Women.
Trying to find a topic that will help start and keep a conversation going.
Her taking offense when none is intended.
Radiocarbon dating calibration isn't linear. It can be tough to figure out their exact age when trying to date them.
I just find the constant need to talk and do things and never sit still exhausting. Texting all day and sending snaps all day just wastes the day for me and sidetracks me too much. I stay single and get way more done, haha.
Finding one to date with.
Being just an option.
Having to prove that I'm not the same as whoever hurt them. It's totally understandable why most women have their guards up, as most have been hurt by some, not to say that most men are terrible, but rather that the ones who are deeply affect the women they hurt, and that leads the rest of us to gain their trust. Worst of all, some women will never ever trust again. It's painful all around.
I have trauma with women. I'm always on guard whenever I'm with them. I'll open up as we get to know each other better. But most of the time it will move to friendship phase. And I don't think of going out with friends. It feels strange.
Trying to prove that you are genuine guy.
Getting the date. Just meeting women and being seen as a romantic option to them. But generally dislike how indirect and passive they can be.
After the honeymoon phase is over, there comes a time when you realize your partner is flawed and not so perfect. You have to either accept those things or move on. But by this point you have invested months or even years into them, so things that would have been deal breakers at the start of a relationship now are weighed against the pain and difficulty of leaving and starting over.
Consistent communication, reciprocated energy.
Finding a woman that wants to date me.
The woman expecting the man to carry the whole conversation when she adds nothing to it and doesn't talk at all. Like, why did you agree to a date in the first place then if you're silent AF?
You must have been living complicated period, bro. I suggest you to read philosophy. Plato or Socrates said, marry a woman, if she is good you'll be a happy man, and if she is bad woman you'll be philosopher, or something like that.
Escalating from text to meetup. Most of my wasted time was dealing with flakiness.
Finding someone who's into me and then put in the same effort.
The usual plus or minus 1,000 years isn't precious enough for you.
Shutting it down when I don't like what's going on. Had a girl be very rude an entire drinks date, so I got the bill early and said I would walk her to her bus stop. She said, "We should do this again sometime," and gave me a hug, then went in for a kiss. I pulled my head back and gave a confused look and just said, no thanks, I didn't really have fun tonight, have a good night though," and she yelled, "You," at me down the street. It was clearly a good choice to get out of there, but I still felt bad about it, and even considered texting her the next day to give her another chance. Just can't nope the out without feeling like a
And being unsure when you're allowed to test actually interesting topics of conversation. Be it politics, science, nerd stuff, etc. In case she misunderstands, decides you're weird, etc. So you have to wait till you're in person so you can explain that your love of the Neo-Assyrian Empire is not due to them being nuts, but rather because they made an interesting historical precedent.
Those type of women aren't even worth the effort.
Well, I'm at least one woman who is down to hear all about the Akkadian, Babylonian history and nerd out cold sweat smile, so there's more of us out there than you think. There's women into Star Wars, Star Trek, sports, cars, all sorts.
Woman here, but this is the most anxiety-inducing part of dating for me. Like, I feel like we're supposed to be texting all day or at least once a day. Otherwise they'll lose interest, but I really just don't have that much to talk about. Brain is just empty sometimes. Being single is way more anxiety-free.
In my experience, any topic that's not relatively superficial. Best place for tacos. Best party you went to. Astrology, crystals, funny stuff your puppy does. Will get you deemed weird, boring. Bring up science, philosophy, economics, and you can watch the date die in real time.
I'm pretty sure this was my situation, and when I confessed that I really liked her I was met with her being upset with me, lol. I stopped talking to her and I still don't understand.
Always taking the lead on everything, always. Scheduling the dates, planning the dates, often driving as well, usually paying, all just starts to add up over time. Because it seems like every woman I meet expects me to do most of the work without realizing this may be the 4th time this month I've had to do this. It's not as simple as, he just has to plan one in the southern US. Not doing these is often an immediate faux pas, rejection, which is annoying by itself, but having multiple first dates with people makes it even more exhausting. The most exhausting being 2 to 4 dates with someone before realizing we aren't to top it off. There's the expectation that I plan something fun or interesting for a first date and not just a person that doesn't exactly struggle to get dates. You run out of fun things in your city very quickly if you do that constantly.
I feel like this needs more context.
More of the environment we live in these days. I much prefer growing from friends that I've met organically IRL into a nice romance that's been built up. I think it's kind of hard to do that one, as an adult too, in a society where online dating is probably the most used option in terms of dating nowadays. I find it awkward and sometimes it's easy to feel down, especially when I think old has created very unrealistic expectations.
But for real, people always tell me, you just have to go on dates, as if women line up for me. No, that's not the case. I have tried and tried and tried, but it never gets to that point. So incredibly frustrating.
Yep, this part sucks. Makes me feel like I gotta be an entertainer on top of all my other
checks in for Star Wars, Star Trek, Cars *.
Yeah, I've had this happen a couple times, so I decided to start making them an option first. Guess what? The first girl I did this with started complaining how I didn't give her enough attention and said, if you like someone you text them, hang okay, we got something going then, so I no longer made her an option. I immediately became an option afterwards and she just turned the tables, person facepalming, medium light skin tone, male sign. Moral of the story, make him an option king, IDK weird.
When someone texts me and just flat out says, entertain me, it's pretty much over in my head already. Lol, had this happen a few times. Tell her I'm going fishing that morning, so I'll text her when I get home. 30 minutes into fishing, entertain me, I'm bored, how's fishing? Make me laugh, I can't be with you. Then turn off phone and deal with the mass texts to follow when I finish my fishing session, haha.
We were talking for 5 months, and we went out a couple times and I felt things were going well. We hung out for like 5 hours one time, just talking and having a good time. I texted her the other day and was like, hey, it's probably pretty obvious but I really like you. And then she responded, oh, I'm kind of oblivious, so no, you weren't obvious. Things got kind of awkward afterwards, and she'd ask how I was and then I'd say I'm fine or whatever, and she would text and be really short, and she'd just reply stuff like, I'll text you later, and then never text back. I asked her if I did something to upset her, and she never replied to it but texted me about something else. I think it's best if I just don't talk to her anymore. Lol, it's okay if she doesn't like me, but for the 5 months I've known her, I definitely did not get that impression. She would like all my pictures and stuff on social media, and text me every day and say stuff like, I want you to be comfortable to tell me things, when I was telling her about stuff that happened in the past and stuff.
Yep, that's online dating innit?
Yeah, now thinking about it, almost every girl I've been with has been while drinking, under the influence. Making the move sober is hard AFF.
Hello. I heard a hum from are we talking Star Wars?
Yeah, I was out of the dating game for about 8 years. When I jumped into it again, I started doing that since I noticed that's what they were doing. I don't see getting a lasting relationship acting like that.
Ask her questions about herself. Listen to the answers, and you will figure out what interests her. When you find a topic she is interested in that you are also interested in, talk about that.
Gauging interest. Plenty of times I've gone on like 3 dates, but I still don't know if they're into me.
That depends. Are we talking about movie trilogies or TV series? Am I going to have to traverse the depths of early droids' adventures? You don't need a hyperdrive to travel into my DMS. I'm only a few clicks away.